From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports. From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports Podcast. I am Paul the Prophet Dawalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, the Honorable Judge Jimmy Baratta. For those of you who are new here, welcome to the official podcast of esports. What we do is we cover the most pressing gaming and esports topics and news of the week, but we look at all of it through a business and C-suite lens. We dissect, we analyze the business implications of everything happening in this industry. For our regular listeners, thank you guys for tuning in every week. Thank you for all the love, the 5-star ratings and reviews. I'm humbled. I read all of them. I'm truly appreciative of everyone who leaves a review on the podcast. So many of you have. But if you haven't yet, go leave a 5-star review on the podcast. It helps others to find the show. Maybe most importantly, share the show with a friend, a colleague, someone you think might be interested in the gaming and esports industry. Jimmy, how you doing this week?
Having a great morning, having a great week, Paul. How about yourself?
It's just craziness here. I mean, I'm still on the conference grind. I'm still like doing 2 speaking engagements a week. I don't know if people are getting fed up of hearing the Prophet in person. I don't think so. I mean, who would ever get fed up with me? And there's like 2 major projects we have in the works that I just can't talk about yet, but I so desperately want to talk about on every single show. I just want to tell people what's going to happen in the next couple of months because there's some very, 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 very big things.
Well, they will see. They will see. And as far as who wouldn't want to see you in person, I got to call on YouGov and Stream Hatchet and our great sponsors for the live show and see if they can compile that data for us.
I will say, you know what I missed? First of all, I missed the pre-patch for WoW. Also, the CoD release, right? Like, I don't know if you've played CoD, like the new CoD. Have you at all?
So I have not played the new CoD. I'm not very interested in getting it. I like Battle Royale, and this is, I'll play Warzone with the new CoD guns, but I just team deathmatch, capture the flag, all these, or control with the different zones. These are game types that don't really excite me or interest me anymore ever since, like a last man standing game type came out. So all my friends are excited about the new CoD. I might be the only one that's not. I have a few of them that that pre-ordered and have started playing. I'm gonna wait and see on that one.
See, because I was hoping to get some insight here. I think that was weak, Jimmy, because those are the game modes that I think are what make CoD multiplayer CoD. And we're going to talk about it in the news show, and it's a good reminder for people who don't know. We do a news show every week. Wednesdays, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. We do it live. Obviously, you can listen to it after the fact or watch it after the fact, but we do it live. And CoD supposedly this is the best-selling CoD of all time, which is the news story I saw.
The fastest is what I saw, because yet to be seen, yeah, I think.
Right.
But definitely the fastest. And I didn't mean to correct you there, but yeah, I saw that story.
And I thought you were going to tell me that you just like absolutely loved it and it's fantastic because I'm trying to connect these things, right? I haven't played it. I've heard lots of people complain about the skill-based matchmaking, probably rightfully so. But I didn't hear you complain about it. So
I jumped pretty hard and pretty fast on that New World train with you, and that, was a road to nowhere. So I'm going to give this one a little bit more time. I also just haven't been playing video games recently. The more, like you mentioned, we have a lot of big projects that we're announcing that we're coming out with soon. And hopefully some time will free up. I just moved into a new house with my beautiful pregnant wife. So, there's some other things. There's some other things that I guess take priority, but hopefully, the squad will let me queue up with them soon.
Well, speaking of priority, we do have an amazing guest on the show this week. As always, I feel like every week it just gets better and better and better. And today we have none other than Sean Pate, who is the brand marketing and communications officer at Zenni, a brand you probably have heard of, maybe not directly as it relates to gaming, but you've probably seen the brand in many, many other places. Sean, welcome to the Business of Esports Podcast.
Prophet, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you on. I love when we have non-endemic brands on the show. To me, this is some of the most exciting conversations because I always want to get to the heart of, the value of the gaming audience. And I think too few brands realize how valuable, how untapped this still is. So I love seeing smart brands like Zenni and you guys and talking about it. But let's start a little bit with your background, Sean, because I think for our audience, it's always interesting to hear a little bit of the backstory, how you got to where you are, what you did before Zenni and Zenni Gaming, and what you're focused on today. Like, what is the attraction from the gaming side?
Yeah, happy to share. I mean, just my career background spanned nearly 25 years in marketing and communications, and primarily working in the e-commerce platform space. So, but from a consumer standpoint, and being at Zenni for the last 5 years, I've seen an amazing evolution from truly what was a startup company now to upwards of a $400 million business going into 2023. Prior to that, I was in the ticket industry for many years. I worked at StubHub at the same sort of inflection point for that business early on, while it was still a Wild West renegade startup prior to being acquired by eBay, and then a few years after that. And that was a really eye-opening type of opportunity for me, not only from the marketing side, but also handling all of the different storylines that went along with that business, from being ticket scalper to democratizing tickets to being sued by the Patriots and sued by Ticketmaster, and all these great storylines that PR people love to have to handle because they're just hot topic. But that was I also worked at Game Time. If you guys go to live events, it's a ticketing app that's also still out there and having some traction. So spent a number of years there, and also was at Ancestry.com in between those two gigs. So have had kind of some broad-based e-commerce, consumer e-commerce types of businesses that have been, really forward in the brand area. And that's where I've kind of migrated a lot of my experience to at Zenni. We have been in business amazingly for 20 years. This company started in 2003. It spent about 15 years building its infrastructure, its manufacturing capabilities, its acquisition model, and everything that makes good business sense from a profitable, efficient business, but not spending any time telling its story or really building a brand that would resonate with consumers and actually migrate consumers. So I came in about late 2017, and that was sort of the order of business number one, but we really were void of any sort of recognition, even though the business was greatly successful. One of the top, probably the top online optical shop out there, even 5 years ago, and we continue to be. Excuse me, guys. But that was still running off of word of mouth and general anonymity. So we quickly turned on the jets, and thankfully the business, to its credit, was in a position to really get out there and brand itself. And we have done this, strategically, and I would say somewhat walk before you run. And we can talk about the gaming side of that soon. But from the business side, we were in a really dire moment of making sure that Zenni as an organization was recognized as above the fold from an eyewear quality optical shop online, which we don't have retail presence like many of our competitors. So you're not walking into a mall or walking down the street and seeing any stores from Zenni. You're only going to experience us online. We're exclusively online and pretty staunch about that for the here and the now. So that leads the consumers to have even questions about our brand and really need to have a little more validation that this company and brand is safe to shop from for a product that is so absolutely medically mandatory for any consumer out there. And so we've had some big investments. You probably may not be aware, but we are the official eyewear of the Chicago Bulls, and we're on their jersey for the last 4 seasons, and just completed that relationship, at least from that level of investment, but continue on with the team. And that was sort of our major cannon blast of, hey, we're here to stay. We're a very financially solvent company, and one that is selling millions and millions of glasses online a year. And this is how we're going to start telling our story.
What was the sort of the impetus to dive into the space and go after this audience?
Well, you can't ignore gaming. I mean, so we started with strong in sports marketing. That's where a lot of my comfort was from my background. We also did, a lot of marketing in the fashion space with, certainly with influencers in the social space. But the gaming space was emerging even to novice, non-gaming audiences as being not only prevalent, but so relevant to a generation of consumers that are not paying attention to the traditional sports world. They are completely engrossed in gaming online or whether it be competitive or otherwise. And then I think the emergence of the competitive space that started to blend itself into the live competition space really got me taking notice. When you see Fortnite championships or tournaments at US Open and driving millions of dollars in pay for the winner, you couldn't take your eyes off it. And this was, roughly 4 or 5 years ago that I think that happened. And obviously, there's many brands that have played in the space before, but for our company, not only would it have been a good place to brand yourself, period, with a younger audience, one that's going to be digital savvy, someone that's going to take advantage of low cost, affordable prescription eyewear quickly, more so than an audience that may be 40 plus and have been doing what they've been doing for decades in a more of a traditional retail sense. But for our brand, we carry a product line we call Blokz, BLOKZ, and those are blue light blocking lenses that, of course, today in 2022, most of the consumer public has become familiar with that. 4 years ago, we were still trying to determine what's the best audience to market this product to, because of course it opened up new doors and new customers for a prescription eyewear business, which there are still hundreds of millions of people in the country that need prescription glasses, but there's a certain segment that have 20/20 vision and don't. But we all need to protect our eyes. Gamers, whether you're professional or recreational, absolutely need to protect their eyes because you're just fixated on your digital screen, like we ironically all have become as the pandemic progressed and we all became addicted to StreamYards and Zooms and everything else. So we all need to protect our eyes. And the Blokz lenses that we have engineered with one of our partners, the Mitsui company out of Japan that has provided all of the sort of raw materials to make our lenses. I'm wearing them now. They're effectively clear lenses that provide this extra level of blue light protection. And with that, gaming seemed the most obvious place to drop that product line into and really double down on branding it, but also becoming relevant in a twofold way. Because certainly in the gaming space, we lead with Zenni blocks, protect your eyes, armor your eyes. This is what you need to add to your gaming kit to protect and keep yourself, playing longer, playing stronger, and having a level of eye protection that is not only going to help you down the line, but help you, with all this eye fatigue symptoms that come along with staring at your screen for hours and hours. But we're also in twofold trying to make sure people understand what Zenni, the brand, is too, because we're certainly not endemic to the space, and we are not a gaming only brand. We have a division called Zenni Gaming that we have sort of filled with many partners and activities and events to build that out. But we are at the core, an eyewear brand, and many millions of customers visit us outside of gaming. But that was sort of our initial impetus to get into the space, and then we've made a lot of different moves over the last few years.
Yeah, there's no question that the health benefits of blocking blue light, like there's been plenty of studies, right? People sleep better, the damage to your eyes over time. Like there's a lot of studies that have been done, no question. But it sounds like for Zenni, there were two sort of separate opportunities, two distinct opportunities, right? One is sell a new product to an audience where it's a great fit because they need this. and two, sell our existing product to an audience because of the demographics, right? They're young, they're digital savvy, like you said. They're, it sets you up for future success because hopefully they're customers for life, et cetera. In your mind, Sean, what is the bigger long-term opportunity for Zenni? Like, is Blokz sort of the foot in the door, but the bigger picture is, how do we reach this audience of very valuable long-term customers? Or I'm curious how you're thinking about those two opportunities.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I would probably give you maybe a twofold answer to it, because we're still in an education process in the gaming space with a younger demographic, right? That probably doesn't experience even the same eye fatigue that guys our age would. As you get older, the symptoms multiply and you find yourself feeling those more so than when you're 22 years old. No disrespect to the Honorable Jimmy Baratta, maybe he is 22, but the rest of us are not. That said, I think it is, and there's an educational curve and something, Blokz is absolutely the product line that we want people in the gaming space specifically to know us, about. However, I've said this many times, if we didn't have Blokz as a product line, the gaming category is still absolutely ripe and ready for our brand, an eyewear brand, to be marketing itself in, period. And the only caveat to that would be is that, the zillennial, or maybe more the zillennial generation, isn't going to need prescription eyewear as much as certainly a Gen X demographic would. But gaming certainly spans all the way through zillennial into Gen X. It leans younger, based on our research. But I don't even want to call it a Trojan horse, because Blokz is clearly something that we want people to take advantage of. And at the cost that we sell the basic line product at, which starts at $25 for a pair, is a pretty low bar to clear for people that want to try and see what the effects are. And then, of course, we have thousands of styles that could apply to it, and many team partnerships that, you could marry that with in terms of what you're wearing. But as we go forward, and hence why we established Zenni Gaming, we definitely want the Zenni brand to be relevant. And if people are shopping for blue blockers on the site, they eventually may need some eyewear, some prescription eyewear, or, vanity eyewear if it comes to sunglasses or any of our other products. So it's definitely two-pronged. And, one of the things that people ask me, because we are in effect trying to sell most people who do not need prescription glasses, an additional something, a pair of protective eyewear to wear on their faces in a non-prescription way, what is the traction there versus people that need a pair of prescription glasses, learn about the Blokz lens option, and just click an addition on their order, which we've had an amazing response to since that product line has been rolled out. But that's from the incumbent customer. So we're trying to double down on those customers that really need no eyewear, and do they adopt this eyewear because of this recreation that they play in or the profession that they're in.
Sean, can we talk a little bit more about these partnerships that you just alluded to? I mean, you guys are working with some really exciting teams, exciting orgs in esports, the Call of Duty League as a whole. I mean, what can you tell us about perhaps, and you also earlier alluded to different ways that you're activating through live events and charity streams with, influencers that you guys also work with. Would love to hear a little bit more about the marketing strategy behind working with teams versus influencers versus the Call of Duty League, and the different ways that these organizations, as well as the ways that you're choosing to market and activate through them, are benefiting Zenni as a brand.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we've really tried to take as well-rounded and robust as approach as we can, afford to get into in the space. We were advised early on, if you're going to get into gaming, don't dip a toe in. You won't register, and you will be perceived as an interloper, right? So we absolutely, I think we went knee deep in, like in 2019, with our first team partnership with the Golden Guardians out of League of Legends, and remain with them to this day. And that was at first our first foray to see how are we going to activate on this with a gaming audience, sort of test the waters. We quickly doubled, tripled down on multiple team deals the following year. And then the pandemic struck and we found ourselves with an opportunity and some, free, not free budgets, but some available funding that wasn't going to be applied elsewhere due to the pandemic to invest in other team deals. So right now we have a portfolio of 5 team partners, the Golden Guardians, the Nets GC out of the 2K League, the Pittsburgh Knights, who are in a number of different leagues, Rocket League, Valorant, Madden, Houston Outlaws in Overwatch, and then Team Accelerate out of the Rocket League. And so that's our team portfolio. We were enjoying those returns while building CSR opportunities, event opportunities, content opportunities, and then influencers opportunities through all of their various players on their rosters. This was, 2020, and we realized, we had a nice, robust program, but was it registering, and were we getting quickly to where we needed to go? And the answer was, this was the small ball type of approach, right? And I think we were ready for swinging for the fences and a 3-run homer to score some more runs. And that's when the Call of Duty League opportunity presented itself. And we evaluated that. We evaluated a number of big name league partners that we could attach our brand to that would give us like immediate legitimacy as a household name and a brand that is really making noise in the space. And after doing so, Call of Duty absolutely presented itself as the best opportunity for us. So we started a multi-year deal with them last year in 2021 to be the official eyewear. And of course, have made our way through the pandemic and into more normal times and have really enjoyed, pretty significant lift as our principal foundational partner, that is a household name, the biggest, title in all of gaming, one of the most active esports leagues out there, and one that we can hang our hat on that really bears, household name recognition. So when you think of Zenni Gaming and your official eyewear of Call of Duty, now you're legit to the many millions of people that participate in that, but then even those that don't, because that brand has that sort of resonance. But it's been fantastic. We've, in terms of live events, been anxiously waiting for them to really come back in their full form. So, the 21 was a bit of a challenge. We did some things. We were at the CDL championships, and we were certainly visible as much as we could be at some of their majors. Going into 23, everything and 22 has been robust as well. But, we're just anxious to really resume a place where we can engage consumers. This is, our biggest challenge as a brand. We have limited physical touch points. So where we can show people what Blokz do in person, let them try them on, give them a chance to touch and feel and see how, the product looks on them. These are the retail types of interactions that we don't have as a company. So we do enjoy those. And overall, it's really kept, I think, our portfolio strong. And then we've just continued to grow in every which way that you can in the space. One of the key players in the Call of Duty League is a guy by the name of Clayster, I'm sure you're familiar with. And he's been our chief brand ambassador in the space for a number of years, has his own eyewear line at zenni.com/Clayster. And that product's been moving. And so have Call of Duty League branded glasses. So we have the rights to their entire league roster of teams. So every team has their own set of glasses, branded and unbranded, for their fans to wear. So we're getting the product sort of parlay and moving that and actually showing results that help warrant these investments. But we're also legitimizing Zenni and Zenni Gaming as a brand that people can look to for any of their eyewear needs.
So, Sean, you've mentioned a few times legitimacy, right, and being taken as a endemic, authentic part of this gaming ecosystem. understandably, realizing how important that is to the gaming culture. I'm curious if the partnerships with influencers versus teams versus leagues are yielding different benefits. If you have the continued interest to diversify your marketing spread across those different categories, or if any of them are particularly, I mean, you mentioned the Call of Duty League in particular, if any of them are more favorable, or what that future of your partnership, what that future structure of your partnerships are going to look like.
Yeah. Well timed, because I mean, as we come into next year, we're certainly evaluating ways for us to, I'd say, spread our wings and diversify a little more in the gaming space. We've felt some security, safety, and confidence getting into the competitive esports space, given how these teams and organizations have built out their structures. So we're familiar with the assets and the way that they can be executed even in a digital world, but also in the same way that many professional sports teams would do. So they're, jersey placements, or, in competition ads, or the variant pieces of content that we are very comfortable with executing elsewhere. We've kept our eye on the gaming space in general, and I think in 23 you're going to see us integrate into games with Zenni advertising, and hopefully as much direct knowledge of the Blokz product as one can be, as one can offer, in depending on the type of game. We're going to expand our portfolio to add partners in various genders, we'll say that much. So have just a more of a, I would say, a little less focus on esports competition, and a more robust focus on different arenas of gaming, to see if we can get the type of traction and speak to even the wider audience that may not be participating in just the competitive side of the category. But as for influencers, we've had an incredible relationship with Clayster, who is a great brand ambassador, actually does wear prescription glasses. So, he is and lives the part of somebody who needs eye protection, but also needs eye correction, and is obviously a big name in the space. But the translation of his persona to direct sales has been extremely strong. And while my side of the house really focuses on the attention and the awareness and legitimizing our brand, anytime that we can drive bottom line results from relationships that are intended to promote a value proposition is even that much better. And so we've really enjoyed that. We're going to look to duplicate that model as much as we can, and just expose it to more people outside of the competitive space.
I mean, Sean, I think it's so clever to customize the product stack to your partnerships. I mean, I will just say, though, that I looked on the site. I didn't see a profit model. I was looking for it. But I'm curious. I want to push a bit, and if you can't divulge, that's okay. But between the influencers and the teams and the leagues, and then I would even include, you have like a themed pair of glasses, right? These hater blockers, which I think is so clever, where it's not tied to a specific influencer or team or league, but between of all of those categories, right? Whether it's influencer, individual influencer, team, league, or more just a thought or an idea, right? Like the hater blockers. What has performed best, right? Have you looked at sort of each of these and said, on a per dollar basis, the individual influencer has generated more excitement around their specific product than the team has? Or I'm just curious. And, without throwing anyone under the bus, I think it's an insight for our audience in terms of what has worked for you guys, and what has worked maybe especially well.
Yep, totally fair question. And I can give you some pretty good insight there. So, and it's an evolving thing too, and you're somewhat a victim of, you manifest your own destiny, so to speak. So our company operates on continuing to, from the performance side of the house, right? They they'll test out all of the marketing opportunities from our partners that they have because it's good content, it works well for the brand. However, at the end of the day, there are performance goals that need to be reached. And if that's not performing, they tend to quit on the marketing of X and go to Y for various reasons. Thankfully, in the case of Clayster, that collection of his, which has been up for over a year now, pretty much performed out of the gate. And that is something that, we attribute to obviously his great fan base, the way that he's modeled our glasses, the great content that he's put out to help promote the glasses, the authenticity that he brings to the wearing the glasses and knowing that it's a look that he's had for a number of years. So people are familiar with that. So it's a natural segue. So with all of that, that collection from the influencer side most definitely has sort of, I think, taken the lead. We were very excited by working with the Call of Duty and having the license to market not only the league, but their teams, and kind of had a slow start out of the gate on our side, marketing it last year as well as we could have. We've caught up in a big way in 22, and now that collection is carrying quite a bit of productivity, even superseding Clayster at this moment because of the dozen teams that go within the Call of Duty that we're marketing to their fan bases. And with that basket of IP, we're really able to speak to, dozens of audiences as the official eyewear of the league. But I think to answer your question from a product standpoint, and then, when it comes to hater blockers, that is more, I'd say, kind of a social impact initiative that was really generated off of some influencers that we have been working with that kind of came up with the concept. And we decided, hey, let's get behind this with a product that we can actually give back to an organization with. And so that's a movement that we continue to keep live on the site and stand up against bullying and hate, and, with purchasing a pair of the hater blockers frames. But the influencers that are out there that are repping other brands, repping a product from an investment standpoint, depending on who you're speaking to, command an investment that is certainly at a level that it needs to drive bottom line and or oversteps the opportunity to kind of make those numbers add up. And without naming names, we've explored a lot of them, and there's some sticker shock in even thinking about working with some of those, super well-known influencers that, of course, would take you to another level. But to attach your name to that for, 6 and 7 figures is pretty risky. So we've been really, really excited about what Clayster's been able to do for us from a branding standpoint, from a sales standpoint. Call of Duty has been obviously a big investment from a brand side, but it's also begun to perform on a product side, which is fantastic. And so we can continue to do that. The teams at their own, micro level have had some traction. And I think that's the area that, possibly could have been accelerated by our own efforts, because again, the teams will promote this as much as they're able to their audiences. It's a double down when we take care of that ourselves too. However, I don't know if we've gotten as granular as we could have been on the team level. But with that said, the Nets GC stands out as a team that kind of had above the fold of visibility since we've been working with them. When we started working with them, they were getting broadcast on ESPN during the 2K playoffs in 2020, wearing our prominent brand on their jersey, wearing our glasses in competition, which all of our teams do, but to varying degrees of visibility. And then from a conversion standpoint, a little less. But I'd say obviously the Call of Duty League carries its weight in significance when it comes to brand and product.
I'm curious in all of the activations you've done. Again, I think just really genius the way you guys have aligned the partner with the product, because I think it's too easy to just, stick a logo on a jersey and call it a day. The fact that you've gone so far as to actually create, product stack specific to the partnership, I think is brilliant. But what have been some of the challenges with, working with some of these partners maybe, or, attacking the gaming space in general? Have there been any? And if so, what have they been?
I think like everybody, COVID was our number one challenge. I mean, we had great participation from our partners pre-COVID or partner pre-COVID. And as COVID came into play, just the access to working with them, getting them outfitted, being able to really educate them on the products, get their feelings. How do you like it? What do you like to wear? That sort of interaction was just really hard to come by. So, every partner we've had has been more than willing to engage in spirit, but in practice, became really hard over the last 2 years. So we jumped through hoops and did as much as we could virtually, and, masked up and everything that you could to get this type of product, these product lines explored. And it varies from a team level to a league level. At the league level with Call of Duty, I mean, there's, contractual licenses and a lot of things that need to go into partnering on the product side. But, with Clayster, it's a one-on-one sort of curation of what he likes out of our catalog and what has sort of been his look historically, and something that he thinks he feels comfortable in. Also, from the player standpoint in competition, we're always hopeful and, very much encouraging to wear them in competition, because that is where you're going to get the most visibility. And so stylizing these guys in looks that they feel like they want to wear, with a big audience, but also one that they don't feel encumbered in any way when they're playing.
Sean, we're getting towards the end of our segment here, and I have one final question for you. Curious if there are other products that we can come to expect, any sneak peek, anything other than lenses or lens technology or frames that we can expect out of you guys in the near future,
or partnerships in the near future.
I mean, on the big corporate side, a lot. Obviously, I can't show my hand just yet for some of those things. I will say in the gaming space, in particular, well, now that live events have come back, we are absolutely trying to be at all of the most relevant ones. We had a great experience at PAX East, and we'll be at DreamHack, and we were at TwitchCon recently, and making ourselves as visible to a broad audience as possible. We also have recently launched a new Blokz product that is specifically designed for gamers. And it's ironic because it's the next level of protection that our current Blokz line offers. We call it Blokz Plus, but it's something that is akin to sunscreen, right? Our baseline Blokz product is going to protect your eyes suitably well. It's like wearing 15 to 30 on your skin. We have a Blokz Plus line now that does have some yellow tint along with it, because that is, in effect, when you're engineering lenses, needs to be a part of the overall color to block the next level of wavelength of blue light. And that would be like if you need 50 on your skin when you're out in the sun. So definitely check out the new Blokz Plus line. We'll be introducing that at some of these live events for folks, but people that are now understanding the value of eye protection. And I think the clear lens needed to be there in its early stages for people to feel comfortable to wear these and not look like they were in, a welding shop or doing something, with an awkward colored lens. We've sort of evolved into a stage where I think people are understanding that eye protection is important. And then if I need to have the very most eye protection, this Blokz Plus line is one that can offer that for you.
Sean, I just have one last question for you. And it's, most people who listen to the podcast regularly know I'm in the Middle East. How are you thinking about the global opportunity from a marketing perspective for Zenni Gaming? Because gaming's, very global. There's a lot going on in this region right now around gaming. How are you guys thinking about the opportunity globally? Are you very US focused right now for now, and thinking about it later, or what is it part of the strategy?
Yeah, it's ironic. Zenni is very US, North America focused at the moment. However, we've sold glasses to every country in the world, 195 countries. We've had purchases from each one. So power of the internet right there, and people just finding the best product they can online, whether they're in the Middle East or Antarctica. Our global expansion plans are kind of coming into focus, no pun intended, and where we go from here. I think wherever the company evolves, gaming is going to go along with it, because it is such an international phenomenon, and something that we have now kind of created a template for. And depending on what our focus is going to be countrywide, I think that's going to be the unique element of it. What resonates with the audience in the Middle East, Israel, wherever it may be, what resonates with the European audience, what resonates with an Asian country audience. And all of those, I think, are going to be unique and take, an entirely different approach. But some of the things like Call of Duty that have such an international following, we've even spoken about, the Chicago Bulls that have such an international following. They're a worldwide brand. So some of these investments we have already cross borders, and I think you could see us lead with them depending on where we decide to really actively plant our flag as we go forward. But for the now, we're very much focused on North America, and we'll see what countries become priority for us going forward.
Sean, that brings us basically to the end of the show. For our audience who wants to find you, find out more, who can they follow? Where can they find you? Where can they find Zenni and Blokz and all these things? Where can they find you?
Yeah, I'd start with Zenni Gaming, or at Zenni Gaming social handles. We're on IG, Twitter. I think we're on all the major platforms. Certainly, zenni.com/gaming would have the most relevance for this audience. And then for anybody out there that is truly looking for the very best price on prescription eyewear, and with thousands of styles, then hitting zenni.com is the place to start. And all you need to do is go to your eye doctor, get your prescription, and bring it to the site, and you'll be saving 80% off of whatever you were paying. Even from an insurance standpoint, that's the big differentiator with Zenni, that we, our average pair of Zenni glasses cost $40. And so that's undercutting normally what even your insurance carrier may offer for you. So come check us out, and we hope you find something, whether you need correction or just protection.
And you're Sean Pate on LinkedIn, right? I think most people can probably reach out to you there.
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn at literally at Sean Pate.
It's such a cool story. I think it's such a great product, and everyone should go check it out, Zenni Gaming. Sean, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Just a little bit of housekeeping for our listeners, guys. Don't forget, every Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, we do a live show. It's all the news from the week. Go follow Business of Esports on all of our channels, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Twitter, you name it, on Instagram. We put new content, different content on every channel, so you got to be following us everywhere. And the most important thing, don't forget, the future is fun. We'll see you guys next week.